Hi, everyone. This is Julie Reisler. I am here on the You-est podcast, and I am so honored and excited to introduce you today to Fabienne Fredrickson. She is an inspiration, a guide, a badass woman entrepreneur who's helped thousands and thousands, hundreds and thousands of women. I'm going to just introduce her to you so you have a better sense of who you have today in front of you. Fabienne is the founder of BoldHeart.com and BoldHeart Business. It's a program that shows growth-minded solo business owners how to consistently make $10,000 a month using her 8 growth activators. We will be talking about these. Once they are enjoying 6 figures in annual revenues, she teaches these same business owners to apply her 8 leverage activators to successfully go from overwhelmed to 7 figures and their life back. After close to 2 decades of successfully coaching and mentoring thousands of these mostly women business owners around the globe on authentic marketing and consistent business growth, Fabienne is authoring the upcoming book, The Leverage Mindset: How Overwhelmed 6-Figure Business Owners Reach 7 Figures and Gain Their Life Back. Her company has repeatedly been ranked by Inc. magazine as one of America's fastest growing private companies. I will tell you on a personal level, she is somebody who has inspired me in many, many ways. I hope to have the privilege and honor to work with Fabienne, and I'm just letting everyone know you are so graced today to have, we're so graced to have you here and to share and to hear about you and how you've done what you've done.
Thank you, Julie. And hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're all here. And thank you for your kind words. That feels so nice to hear. And I'm here to be of service today. Share as much as I can.
Awesome. Well, I mean, there's a lot to cover, and I want to make sure that people both get, there's a lot that I feel like you have done and created and teach. And one of the first questions that I like to ask about is this concept of you being your You-est you, being your highest potential, that we're all these sacred beings. I know that this is something just in watching you and reading your stuff, that this is, you believe in that. I'm curious, what does that look like today, being your You-est you? Maybe share a little bit about any story of how you've gotten to where you are.
Oh my God. So I could just talk about this for 3 days. Where do we start? Okay. So I'm actually going to talk about, my business for a second, but not in, I used to have, the business used to be called clientattraction.com.
Okay.
And I would teach people marketing, but as you said, the authentic marketing. And I found that especially women, right, would hide behind a facade, or they would become people pleasers, not only in their life, but in their marketing and in their business growth, not really showing the essence of who they are. And I decided to, after a while, for many different reasons, but to rebrand as you did, and to call my company BoldHeart. BoldHeart, at first people were like, what? From client attraction to BoldHeart? But I realized that part of everything that I did over these years was give women permission to be the highest expression of who they really are in this lifetime, the fullest, most colorful expression of the authenticity and the integrity of the divine. I'm going to just say divine, okay? Because that's who I really am, right? So I'm like showing,
I love it.
So in doing that, in sharing all of who you are, unapologetically, you become, these women, we become more attractive to people. I believe that vulnerability, authenticity, and love are incredibly attractive. And so if they were wondering why it wasn't working, I'd say, because I don't feel you. I can't connect. Who are you really? And then when they started sharing who they were in their blog posts, in their videos, and just, when speaking and networking, it was like this magical, divine fairy dust came out, and they filled their practices and stuff like that. So we talk about authenticity all the time. It's like, who are you really? And turn up the volume boldly, unapologetically, woman, on who you really are, because that's the most attractive, because it's the raw essence, right?
Mm. Wow. I'm so feeling what you're saying now. And I think this is an area, especially for women. I feel the same way. There, so many of us learn, to tamper our voice and to
Oh
keep
yeah.
it masked. And I mean, I was attracted to the authenticity and your stand for women, especially to fully be embodied in who they are. And I mean, I applaud you. This is in my heart and opinion, so needed and so important. And you've been doing this, I know, for 2 decades now.
Yeah. Julie, can I talk about something radical that I've actually never really, it's not that radical, but something
Yeah,
I've actually never spoken out loud until last week. I was teaching
please.
with
Love
my,
this.
I was teaching about, we were teaching about the fear of exposure and how exposure and visibility for women in business, especially women in business, but it doesn't have to be just that, doesn't feel safe. And we women, how do I say this? This is something I don't have a lot of words around because it's not been a conversation I've had for a long time, but it is so present for us. We women show up in this lifetime and we are the second sex. We're the weaker gender. We have been bred in a way. I know this is kind of like controversial.
Great. No, please.
We've been bred in a way to just totally people please, to put our needs last, right? We put everybody's needs first, the kids, the husband, the school, the clients, the house, the career, everything. And we find ourselves not even on the list. And just I feel like there's this, I can't be authentic in the world. I can't be visible. I can't be the meest me that I am, because it's not pleasing to others. And I'm starting a conversation about getting your needs met and get, as a woman, unapologetically have more pleasure, fulfillment, and getting your needs met on a personal level. And that conversation has to do with, what is it that I want? Who am I? What is it that I want? What gives me pleasure in life? And how can I be fully expressed unapologetically without holding back? That's the BoldHeart Woman conversation. I'm starting a BoldHeart Woman program in January. And that's that whole, how can you be the you-est you, using your words, right? Yeah. The you-est you that you can be, but just not apologize about it and not feel sorry and take up more space.
I like, to me, that is the conversation. And I just in asking you and digesting that, what comes up for me, it's sort of that, and holding the space to celebrate other women doing that. Like, and that's what I get from you. And that's how I know I try to show up, is that as I do that, it shows you can do that, as you unapologetically take up space and be bold-hearted in yourself. And that's one of the things I love about what you do, is there's this like camaraderie, this stand for other women, that there's absolutely, there's not only room for one or for two, it's for all of us to do this.
Well, typically in what I call the Muggle world, right? The world out there, we've been put in a position, which I hate. We've been put in a position of being competitive with other women. And I'm like, the only person I feel like I'm competing with is myself. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm not here to take your man, your money, your clients, nothing. I'm just a girl doing my thing. Yeah. And this competition thing, because of that, we women typically downplay our successes, because then we're seen as bossy. We're seen as the B word. Yeah. We are seen as arrogant. Right. And I completely I shift that every day on its head with what we say in with our hundreds of female clients is we talk about the fact that a rising tide lifts all boats. If you do well, you inspire me. If you do well and we're in the same tribe and we're in the same community, we call BoldHeart like home, like welcome home, because it is a family. But when you do well, then you're going to share with me how you did well. And if I'm doing something well at home, I'll share that with you. And this extreme generosity, this instead of this competitive thing. And that's really important. When women taste that for the first time, it gives them more confidence to open up and to be more of who they really are.
That's so fantastic. I see this as also like the beginning, the roadmap of, I mean, to me, our whole planet could use this kind of reframe, that we can all be boldly ourselves, and that the rising tide lifts all boats. I love what you just said about the competition piece. Like for me, and I get this with you, it's about within myself, being my best self, and how can we, I love that about you, that supporting and really uplifting other women, especially. And I think this conversation is so needed and important. I mean, all you got to do is look on social media or see what's going on out there to really get, or just talk to, other women. I know, myself included, I'm not immune always from, there's this feeling of either competition or who is she to do that? Or who is she to do that? And it's like, how great she did that.
Wow. And I have to tell you, so as you know, because you and I spoke a couple weeks ago, just the two of us, before we jumped on here. And as you know, I moved to France. I live in Paris with my husband and my children, just because we decided to. People always ask us, why are you here? Well, because we choose to.
Yeah.
What I noticed is something fascinating about living here. On social media in the United States, there is so much hate and keyboard confidence. Like, who is she? Oh my God, look at her hips, look at her hair. Like, it's just like, you put yourself out there and people shred you and destroy you.
Yeah.
So fascinating to see here in France. It is the opposite. There is no keyboard confidence. Well, I can't say no, but it's like, I've rarely seen it. And it's like, wow, they look for something to praise as opposed to shred. And I'm not making one country better than the other. It's just a fascinating thing. And I think because there's more of an essence of femininity here. The feminine is revered here in France, where I'm going to say something else radical. And this is something I don't usually say publicly, but I realized in March when I touched down, because I go do my U.S. meetings 5 times a year, and then I come back and live here. I touched down in March at the airport in Paris, and I just had a download just from things that I'd seen, like the Air France, safety videos. It's all women, and you walk into Charles de Gaulle Airport and it says Paris loves you, and it's about love and beauty and stuff like that. And I realized that that women in France are revered, and they are tolerated sometimes in the US, which is why I think if we're talking about how to be the You-est you, it's you're going against, you've got to be a brave person, courageous, a bold heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I'm sorting through, because this maybe another day, that's like a whole other,
I know,
very, very important.
Let's do this every month. You and I will
All
just.
Right, Fabienne, are you kidding? Done. Thank you. Amazing. I just have to tell people, like, we already had a conversation. I fell in love with Fabienne before, and then we had this conversation. I felt so bad. We didn't even get the podcast done.
We talked for an hour.
We talked for an hour, and I got off. I said, okay, I love this woman even more, if that was possible. And I realized, God, I hope I didn't waste your time, because we went for an hour just chatting.
It was a great conversation.
But it was great. And this is such an important one. I have a lot of women that listen in, and, all in different stages, some moms, some entrepreneurs, some thinking about being entrepreneurs, some don't want to do the entrepreneur thing, but want to be their best self. I mean, I think and I've men too. And I think the men that are listening also want to access, we have both divine feminine and masculine, want to access
Absolutely.
that and want to access how to be their best self. And so I think this conversation is crucial. And I'm so grateful that you got all radical. To me, that's not even that radical, but I get it. One of the things I would love to just talk about, well, you mentioned being brave to put yourself out there. And, now for those that are listening that have thought about entrepreneurial routes or even a side hustle in that way, or any way that you're putting yourself out there, I know that you've come up with these, the 8 activators, and just thought it would be cool to talk a little bit about them. I know we could do probably like a day on each of them, but
Yeah.
kind of how those have really helped the clients that you've worked with, and like almost nuggets that people listening could get some insight.
In terms of, so I have 8 activators for getting to 10K a month. I have 8 activators for getting to 100K a month. I have I have a program. It sounds like I'm spending my time talking about my programs. This is not what I'm here to do. I have the 16 activators for how to become confident. That's BoldHeart Self. And then
I think we should go into that, the confidence for right now.
And then I have the activators in Embrace Your Magnificence, which is the book that I've written. And my sense is that if it's about growing your courage, not that I want to steer the conversation, because I think those business ones would be somewhat helpful if this is not an entirely business audience. I want to talk about the first chapter of this.
Perfect. Let's do it.
And you'll appreciate that the second chapter is called Be the Most Authentic That You Can Be. So, you'll appreciate that. But the first chapter is the biggest. It's like 50 plus pages, and it's called Value, Honor, and Love Yourself. And the reason why I bring it up is because in the pursuit of being your highest, the biggest version of you that you can be, when facing the critics, the keyboard confident people, the shredders, the haters, if we'll call them, most people just like hide in their bed and go under the covers, and they just don't get out there in a big way, whether they have a business or they just want to be their authentic self. If they're gay and they want to come out of the closet, if they're, whatever it is, right? They don't do it because they fear what people will think and say and all of that. Right. And my response to that is, don't hide. Instead, value, honor, and love yourself. And here's what I mean. And there's a series of exercises in here that show, this is essentially my entire journey from the lowest depths of self-esteem when I was in abusive relationships, and just my life was, I don't want to make it seem like it's, a terrible life. I haven't had a terrible life. People have had much worse lives than me, but low self-esteem. That's my journey back up from that to self-worth, and creating a really lovely life that I enjoy. The whole idea about loving, valuing, and honoring yourself first is when you are full of yourself in the best possible way, when they say something, yeah, sure, it still hurts. Okay. I'm a sensitive person. It still hurts. Like, did you have to say it? Did you have to say that? Would you have said that to my face if you were in front of me? Obviously no. But after a while, I'm like, not my problem. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but like, this isn't about me. This is obviously about you. I didn't like the words that you said, but because I like me, because I love me, your words don't really affect me that deeply. And so I think a lot of people get their needs met through others, and you want to get your needs met, but you don't need to always get your needs met from other people. You can begin to love yourself. You can forgive yourself. You can really embrace your magnificence, which is why it's called that. And then that allows you to be even more authentic in the world because you don't really start caring too much about what people say.
Yeah, that's so wise. I love the concept of being full, and the way you said it was, I got it very, very carefully, full within yourself of who you are. So, you know, I've heard that before. She's so full of herself. And I actually think it's, yes, be full in yourself and of yourself of who you are. And there's always the and I hear you saying that. It's like, and people are going to say what they're going to say. And I agree with you. It's about them. And you know, it may still hurt a little, and that's okay. But being full in yourself is key. Being full in yourself.
Yeah. It's really, if you can love yourself like the divine loves you, don't get me crying, right? That if you just can have an inkling of, if you could tap into how much you are loved by the universe, how there is such a huge reason for you to be here. You may be a business owner, you may be a stay-at-home mom, housewife, out of work guy. You are there is a reason for you. You were chosen in this lifetime to have one purpose, one calling, and to make the world a better place in only the way that you can. And if you could ever tap into how much you are loved, it doesn't really matter what they think. It doesn't really matter whatever has happened to you. It has no meaning. No meaning can be created successfully that would make you less than in the eyes of yourself and the eyes of others if you understood just how loved you are and how on purpose you are, for a purpose, with a purpose.
It's so beautiful. So I'm like, this is one of my most favorite conversations, because I guess having gone through a period where I didn't feel that, and then when I really got, oh my God, we're all loved and adored so much. I don't even think I fully comprehend it. I
don't think we can, because it's such a vast love that I think if we were able to, I'll have to tell you one day, one of our many conversations, I'll have to tell you the story about my chakras, my heart chakra opening. Well, I'll tell you a little bit of it now.
I was going to say, share.
Okay, really quick, because this could be a really long story, but really, really quick. Many years ago, I was a holistic health counselor, like a holistic nutritionist, and I was doing a liver gallbladder cleanse. That's totally overshare, but I'll explain why.
I'm all about that.
In the liver gallbladder are where all of your emotions are stored, all of your past emotions and things like that. And when you do a cleanse, like, you start feeling all your emotions, you know, all like you're giggling one minute and then you're on the floor crying the next. And I was starting to date as a side note, I was starting to date my husband, Derek. And I was like, I should get off this cleanser. I should at least stay away from him, because he's going to think I'm a total bat case. Anyway, I digress. So one night I couldn't sleep, and it's 3:00 in the morning, and I'm like, it's like, there's so much emotion and stuff coming out of me. And I decided to go lie on the sofa, and all of a sudden, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. It's as if through my heart, it's as if a firefighter's hose was on, but it wasn't water going through my heart. It was love. It was the scariest thing one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. And you would think it's love, but Julie, it was so much love. It was universal love. It was like, I feel like I got a glimpse into how much love there is. And it was so overwhelming that I was like, shut it down. It's too much love.
Wow.
And I quit the liver cleanse the next day.
Wow.
But I've never experienced that before or since. And I experienced deep love in my life, you know, as one does. But what the conversation that started for me was, how much love will I allow in? And where do I stop it and why? And then I started thinking, because this was stirring through my mind so much. How much abundance will I allow into my life? Where do I stop it and why? And these are the conversations we're going to have in the BoldHeart Woman program, is how much pleasure and fulfillment will I allow in, and where do I stop myself and why? And what it always comes down to is an issue of self-worth.
Yeah.
And when you do the work, whether it's this or, you know, whatever else, when you begin to do the work of reclaiming your worth, embracing your magnificence, you start having more capacity for receiving abundance, for allowing from the divine, from allowing from clients, from allowing compliments, from allowing friends to help you. You know how women don't like to ask for help, right? This allowing piece is directly connected to how worthy you think you are. And if you don't find yourself worthy, there's healing that needs to be done. And this is a worthwhile conversation in terms of how do we have women begin to heal their issues of self-worth. And I believe that even though I have a very, very successful business at teaching business, I believe that my next evolution is the healing. My next evolution is the healing of the self-worth of women. Because it's rampant. It's insidious. It's everywhere. Even the most accomplished women in the world still question their self-worth. They're still people pleasers, or else they've become so masculine that they've lost the essence of the feminine. And so this is about them becoming the fullest expression of who they are as a woman and receiving abundance. I don't even know if you had a question for me, but I just kind of like went in there with that. But that whole, how much will you allow in is a big, big thing.
I've experienced this personally. This rings completely true for me. And I think this is the conversation, I think, for especially for women to have around. I'm so wholeheartedly with you. I mean, worthiness, you know, getting our worthiness and understanding that at a deep level. And so part of the question I have for you, I mean, I what you just shared, I'm still taking it in because it's really powerful, especially I'm thinking of that heart chakra experience.
Oh my God.
I mean, and I was with you and I was picturing, my gosh, like, you know, the idea of a hose, like, you know, if you're at a fire and you're putting it out.
So much love. So it's overwhelming, blinding.
Like just, you know, we said it earlier, and I'm thinking of people listening that are like, okay, how do I feel that? How do I start to feel my worthiness? Where do I begin? Because I think for some, it's how do I do that? It's a beginning conversation. For some, it's like, I've been trying, I don't, or I'm starting to, and I'm curious, like, you know, I know you said that you started in a place in life where maybe you didn't have as much self-esteem or worthiness, and whatever you're comfortable sharing from there to kind of like how you've learned to do that. I think that's like the $1 billion question.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's all in the book. And so now I have to think about some of the things. Well, one, really getting clear on who am I? What do I like? I have a woman who, an attorney, a New York attorney who, started working with me in my business program, and she's still doing that, but she's also doing the personal program with me. And she just didn't. She lost herself in her relationships. If he liked vanilla ice cream, she would like vanilla ice cream, and if her next partner liked chocolate, she would like chocolate. And that she's no longer by herself. And I said, well, I want you to pretend, this is an exercise for our lovely people here today, what is an exercise in figuring out who you are and what you like. And I told her, I want you to have amnesia. One of my friends here in Paris has a friend who literally has amnesia and doesn't remember anything about her life. And she's probably our age, you know. And so my friend Alex talks to her every week. But the doctor made sure to tell all of this woman's with amnesia friends and family, don't tell her what she used to be. Don't tell her what she used to like. Let it be an exploration. Because I think that we have a lot of paradigms that we carry over from childhood, from religion, from our education, from experiences gone right and experiences gone wrong. And this woman has this incredible, I mean, it's not a great state to be in, having experienced amnesia, I'm sure, but she has the opportunity to start over without all of those precepts of a lifetime's worth of other people's projections. And so what I would say in terms of starting to embrace your self-worth is really think about, what do you like? And do you have a lot of that in your life? And where do you stop it? And why? So, you know, I've behind me, I have some flowers here and I have some flowers there. And I like flowers. But I used to not have flowers because I used to have a thing around money or a thing around this. And so I started looking, is the money more important than my pleasure? And where do, or receiving a compliment, or where do I stop and say, oh, this old thing? Or, oh, I just got this at the, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And we downplay a lot of these things. Where do we stop the abundance? Friends and things like that, helping us out. Oh, no, thanks. I can do it on my own. And that's a great place to start. Figuring out what your needs are. Do you have a need for conversation, but your husband doesn't talk very much? You can get those needs met, and not always from the same person. Do you have a need for dancing, but you've got 3 kids and there's no club that opens at 7 p.m.? How do you get your needs met for dancing? You see where I'm going with this?
Oh, absolutely. It's fun. It's funny because I literally did this recently, and one of the needs was I used to dance. I have a whole story around it. And I was like, I need to be dancing and not just by myself in my room. And it's a great story. I found this gym. I totally forgot it was nearby, and they have amazing dance instructors. And it has just added so much joy. I cannot even begin to say. I for that hour, I'm like having the time of my life. It doesn't even matter who's teaching, what the song is. It's just so much fun. And I related to that one specifically, but I love these questions. And to me, it's also like really, then you're getting to know yourself and what makes you feel pleasure and fulfilled, and how can you be full if you don't know what you want to be full of, is sort of what I'm getting to. And it's so wise.
And we don't even ask ourselves these questions, and I feel like I'm going radical again with you here, but because I don't usually talk about this, but I'm going to bring up something. I want to talk about intimacy.
Yeah, please.
And for women, and for a lot of women, I've been researching this recently. Very few women are satisfied in that area of their life, quality and frequency. And my sense from just living in this world is that there's this belief that women just don't want intimacy. They're not as into it as men. But if you do the research, they want it just as much.
Yeah.
But what they don't want is intimacy that isn't pleasing. And everything that we are taught in society is a masculine way of enjoying intimacy, which is completely different than feminine. So if a woman isn't getting her needs met in that way, there's this huge part of her life that is unfulfilled. And it's because she hasn't stirred up the self-worth enough to ask for what she wants and show what she wants, etc. I have literally never talked about this on this kind of call before, but it seems that we're going there in all sorts of directions. You make it very easy for me to speak.
Oh my gosh, Fabienne, I'm so grateful. I mean, everything you're talking about, this is so, I think it's wonderful, and it's like shining fresh air on this topic that, again, I think it's so important, and it's often kind of, again, another one of those things that we keep hidden under. I'm in a, how do I say this? I am I'm remarried, and I gotta say, like, that for me is one of the most important aspects. Is I think of it as self-expression, being fully self-expressed intimately. And it's a whole different thing to be able to say, and you start where you're at, but to say, this is what I like, what I need, this is important. It's also very affirming that we're human beings, so it may not look like the male version, but as females, we have that same, it looks different, but the same basic desire to have connectedness and intimacy.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love this conversation.
Yeah. And so when we can express our needs, we are more self-expressed. When we are more self-expressed, we are fulfilled in that way, and in every way, for beauty, for pleasure, for intimacy, for freedom. I need time to read. I can't be schlepping my 3 kids everywhere. Like, I need somebody to help me. I need downtime, and being able to say, this is what I need. Or, you know what, my sweet husband, I need to go out to dinner with you once a week or twice a week by ourselves. And let's make Wednesday that day. Just expressing that, as opposed to putting everybody else's needs and taking care of everybody else's stuff. That is becoming the you-est you that you can be. It's part of self-love. It's part of loving yourself enough to say, no, it's not okay. It's not okay that my needs are not getting met. What? Why is everybody else's needs come first? That just does not make any sense. And so it's the courage, it's the boldness, the moxie, that is asking and expecting, not from an arrogant place, not from a bitchy place, but from this is what I would like. I would like more of this in my life. I would like fresh flowers. I would like somebody help, me clean the house. I would like to not be the one dragging the kids all around town. I don't want to be the driver.
Right.
This is what I would like in my private moments with you, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's so, what I think is so powerful about what you're saying too is, to me, it comes back to that courage, having the courage and the inner knowing that we're worthy beings, that we're supposed to have these needs. I think of it this way. It's like, if I have the desire to do something, that didn't just come out of nowhere. Like, my desires, and you started out the conversation so beautifully, that, we all have these divine inspirations, and I think of it as like a sacred contract. I came here, so I have a lot of different desires and needs, and like, that's great. It's kind of maybe flipping it too. It's like celebrating that. Like, I agree with you. I have children, and for those listening with kids, like, it's okay. I learned early on, for me, being, for example, stay-at-home mom was not the best. It just did not fit me and my personality. I went through a lot of shitting on myself and guilt and shame. And because I felt like, what's wrong with me? My mom was stay at home and she loved it. And I love my children, and I try to be there. It's owning, I think, whatever that is without judgment is also what I'm hearing you say. And then being bold and brave to speak that, and to know that it's coming from a place of like a love.
And the whole idea is not to project judgments upon ourselves or others, right? I get, and I've known since day one, that I'm a better mom because I work.
Yeah.
I know this about myself. Believe me. Yeah. I have spared my children, and they're wonderful human beings. They are exemplary. And I don't mean by other people's standards of perfection, but just like they're expressed, and they are confident and they are sensitive and they are kind and all of that. But also being careful not to project on others. You know, if somebody is a better mom because she stays at home and it feels more natural to be with her children, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Whether one breastfeed or one doesn't, like, everybody chill out.
Yeah.
Just focus on being you,
Yeah.
and let them be them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to have a meaning.
Absolutely. No, this is, well, and I think the book that it's Embrace Your Magnificence, you were showing it earlier, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
I love it. I got the have you read Hay House? This was published by Hay House.
I was going to say to you, so I just did I knew that because I have a lot of her affirmations.
Yeah, I got the same artist.
I said, I actually almost said, I'm like, no, but it looks like Louise Hay, like Hay House books. That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was she doesn't know that she didn't know that she was like a mentor to me. I grew up with my mom listening to her when I was 11 and 10. I was very lucky. So I feel like I've had her in my ear. Louise Hay was amazing.
When I met Louise Hay, I went into what Oprah calls the ugly cry. I could not stop crying and hyperventilating. And I mean, I'm an emotional person, but I don't do that. And it was as if like, it took my body over, and she's standing there and hyperventilating and crying. And I'm like, it changed my life. And she put her hand on mine and she said, no, you changed your life. She was so adamant that I would get that.
Oh, I love it.
What a powerhouse, man. Wow.
Oh, I love her. I always call her my grandmother she didn't know that she was my grandmother, but she was with me.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I know we're going, I don't know how long we'll be talking, but I talking about authenticity and being the you-est you that you can be.
Yeah.
It's when I read You Can Heal Your Life, and I went to her biography, or like her bio, whatever, her story in the book, where she talked about everything in there and she let it all hang out. I thought, wow, reading that chapter opened me up to, one, being more authentic, two, being more vulnerable, and three, really embracing, like, who am I really, warts and all. Who am I? And just being at peace with that. And once I'm at peace, once I got to be at peace with it, I didn't really care so much what other people thought. So if you like, I would say everybody, I'm sure everybody's read, You Can Heal Your Life, but if you haven't read it in a while, pick it up and go to wherever it says like My Story by Louise Hay. Amazing.
Yeah, she talk about somebody who is very inspiring, because she had such difficulty in her childhood, her health. I mean, her story is incredible. I just downloaded the book again to audio. I've read it before. I was like, I need to hear it again. I just need to. Very inspiring. And I
started a business at 68. I think it was 68 when she started Hay House. I mean, wow.
I just got chills. I have to take that in, because Hay House, I think everyone listening has heard of Hay House. You're an author with Hay House. There's a lot of phenomenal authors and speakers. I mean, she, to me, is the grandmother of personal development and healing and love.
Definitely.
I teach a lot around mirror work. I got so inspired and so much from her about that. And now it's one of my practices. I don't care what it looks like. Like, we look at ourselves every day. We might as well say some kind things,
Yeah.
Well, I love what you said, back to the beginning about the most important thing is the three things are being vulnerable, authenticity, and love. And what you were just saying, both about with Louise's story, but just how you're being in the world, and how that has, what I'm getting is it's opened you up to be able to allow for more, and to be more and more of who you really are, and to allow more of that in. It's just.
Do you ever read that Anais Nin quote, which is, I can't remember it, but it's like it's more painful for a bud to stay closed than it is to open.
Yeah.
And what I realized is, and I've been, I've been attacked on social media. I've had people say behind my back, oh my God, I can't believe she was crying from the stage. And I realized, like, I can't help being who I am.
Yeah.
I am not, I refuse at this point in my life to be anything other than who I really am, because I'm done with lying. I'm done with presenting myself as somebody that I'm not. Listen, I have to tell you this story. When I was dating and I was in my 20s, I dated a guy briefly for a few months, and his name was Greg. And on our first date, he showed up, and we're in Manhattan. We're going out to a restaurant, and I'm wearing, I forget what I'm wearing, but I'm dressed.
Yeah.
And he shows up in a button-down shirt, khaki shorts, and sneakers. Now, I'm not judging, but this is Manhattan. It's like, you don't go out at night looking like that, right? At least you didn't when I went. Anyway, so I was like, in my early 20s, I was like, oh, where are we going? He's like, we're going to a restaurant. I'm like, sneakers and shorts. And he said something that I still talk about today. And I so respect him for having said that. He said, yeah, I just don't want to misrepresent myself.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that is hard to forget. So just write that down for yourselves as you're listening to this. I don't want to misrepresent myself. And I started thinking about that. And then it stayed with me, 20 years later. How do I misrepresent myself in the world? And why am I doing that? And I had great compliments last week because I was in the US leading our leverage track meetings. And I have two gals who coach with me, one in my growth track and one in my leverage track. And they're both entrepreneurs. Like, they are more of risk takers and like entrepreneurial even than I am. And they both work. I don't want to say they work for me, because the word that I always use is we work alongside each other. But they said on stage both times, it was funny that they both said it independently. The reason I work at BoldHeart, instead of having my own thing, is because this is the first place where the outside has matched the inside. Who the message that you hear on the outside, and what Fabienne, who's the leader of this organization, what she says publicly is exactly who she is personally. And they've worked everywhere else. And if we've got some business owners here, I'll say that one of the keys to keeping exquisite talent for years and years and years, where they're willing to give up their own thing to work with you, is by having the front match the back, which, at least in my industry, I hate to say it, because I know too much, but it's not common. Yeah. And so asking yourself, who are you at work and who are you at home? Who are you with a family and who are you with friends? And how can you have the front match the back?
Well, I just want to say, like, amen to you. That is to me, to have that matching, that synchronicity, that you are who you are wherever you are, and that what's going on, what you see on the outside is what's going on the inside, to me is probably one of my highest values. To me, that's like the core of authenticity. And you really, thank you for being you and for being that, and being a light, and a powerful light. And frankly, a light that, like, the candle, we light a candle and then it keeps burning and you light more. I feel like you've just lit so many candles, and hopefully today, every one of us is a candle being lit by you and by your authenticity. And
thank you.
It's no small thing. I got to tell you, I honor you big time. And
thank you.
This was such a gift, not just for me, but for everyone that tunes in. You are such a gift. And it also, I want to say, to remind everyone that we're, like Louise said, you listening, you're the gift too. We're all the gift.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Yeah. Everybody is.
powerhouse light.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to you, Julie, for just having fantastic, you hold a space for fantastic conversations. And I just feel so honored to be with you today and be able to share my truth. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness.
Lots of love.
Thank you. Lots of love.